Dear students, have you submitted that questionnaire file in the LMS? I sent you an email.
Teacher.
Yes.
And I have some problem in the my course is not appear in the LS. After next day I submitted already, but before that this is not appear in my MS the course itself.
Okay.
But already I submit.
That's great. Good. Fine. Today, inshallah, before we start, I just want to take a few minutes to discuss with you the requirements for the course, or what is the knowledge you have to continue in this course. Okay. I just want to get some information about from your side how much knowledge you have for the as like a prerequisite for this course. Okay, I just want to get take some information from your side, like, okay, how much you know about programming, about computing. Okay, I want you to use your mic and give me the answer for the questions what we discuss now. Okay, please use your mics. Okay. So I just want to, can you see the screen?
Yes, you can see.
Yes, doctor.
Thank you very much. Okay, I want to know some information from your side, like how you are prepared for this course. As we all know that this course has a prerequisite, which is M351 or M369. Apart from this, also it needs some basic knowledge. Okay, so I believe that you have taken programming courses. Is it right?
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So you have taken programming course. You are good in Java, I believe.
Yes.
You have taken, I think, M105 and M251.
For me, I take it M251.
That's great. So all the students, except I think networking track, all other students have taken M251. Is that right?
Yes, doctor.
Great. So you are good in Java, I believe, as you have completed M251, and you have programming concepts which you clear from M105, right? Okay.
Yes.
Apart from this, to take this course, we should also know about the difference between the internet and the web. Okay, I believe that you have an idea of what is internet and what is a web. Okay.
Yes.
So can someone just explain me how you differentiate the web and the internet?
The web it's server itself. Web
Okay,
share the information
fine.
for the people. The internet it's the big network, public network. You can access it from any world, any place in the world.
Okay.
Connected a lot of server. This network talk together.
Very good. Anyone else want to share information about this?
The internet is hardware
Okay.
And the web software.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else? Fine. So it's clear about that the difference between net and the web. I believe that you have an idea of what is a client server architecture
Yes,
that
they for
we,
the client
yeah,
and the server.
yeah, there is a client and the server. When the client make a request, it will go to the server. The server will process the request and return the back to the client. So if we talk that in a in the world of web, it is the browser where becomes a client where when we access any web service or any web application or any website, client becomes the browser becomes the client or the client machine, and then server or the website that we are accessing, that is the server, right? From where we get all the information. So in simple terms, if we see, for example, we access the university website, we access the LMS, SIS, or any other web services is through client server architecture. And behind the client server architecture, there is multi-tier architecture where there is a many different type of clients and many different type of servers. Whether it is in what is called a database server, web server, okay, business logic server, and so on. Okay, that's about client server architecture. So it is very important to know in the course through the web development or web application development, Java. Along with that, we should also have some basic concept of HTML, XML, okay, and some JSON. Okay, so this is also required. So if you have that knowledge, that is well and very good. If there is something missing from your side, like, okay, I did not take HTML, I know, you can refer to some of the materials back, which is available on a lot of platforms. There is a one beautiful website called W3 Schools. W3 Schools has a lot of content on HTML, XML, and other languages. You can refer there, and there are a lot of videos available on YouTube. I see there is a free code camp channel. There also you can get HTML, XML, and all, and even free code camp website also has these languages. These are beautiful websites where you can learn a lot of things. Okay, so this you have to take it as like as an independent learner, that you have to learn all these technologies that is required in support to this course. Okay, so this is regarding to the web development, and inshallah, as we go in block one, we are going to study about it. From today, we have taken the part one, okay, and we'll start with the part two, inshallah, and some part is left from the part one. So we're going to start with the part two, where we talk about these web applications. Apart from this, I wanted to know about. I wanted to see that you have some information about clouds in computers. So can someone describe me what is a cloud?
Cloud
Or
is
I think the
information in the internet.
can you please repeat?
The cloud is the information. Put it in the internet, not in the our device.
Okay, good. Yes, any other answers?
I think the VMware is make it the cloud for him. Microsoft Azure is make it the cloud.
Okay, Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing. Okay, good. Yes. Anyone else?
Provide services.
Cloud provide the services. Okay, that's very good. Fine. Okay, so clouds are nothing but here it's very simple term. These are the servers we are gonna from where we are gonna access the services that provide the services. So we have a term called cloud computing and cloud services. Okay, we have different types of clouds, and you are using these cloud services, like you are using the clouds and cloud services. An instance, for example, you're using Google, right? Google Drive. So it is a cloud service provided to you from the Google that you can store the data. So it's kind of a storage service given to you from Google, right? On the Google Cloud. A Google Cloud in the what it means is that a Google server. Fine. So it has a different features. Okay. So in this course, we are going to learn about it. That what is a cloud and different services of cloud, different types of clouds. Okay. How does the cloud works? Fine. So that we are going to learn in this course. So I believe that you have a clear idea about you are using the clouds. For example, the Google clouds, you're using Microsoft Azure. If someone is using Microsoft Azure, we have AWS, okay, Amazon Web Service Cloud. Different types of clouds are there, and there are different services for the cloud, okay, that we use there. And then we also talk about the mobile applications. Fine. How do you differentiate? I just wanted to know from your side, like what is the difference between accessing any web service, okay, in a laptop and in a mobile phone? What do
The
you feel
laptop,
the difference?
the browser in the laptop, and then the
Yeah.
mobile application.
Okay, we access it through the mobile application, and in the laptop we access by browser. So, what are the challenges? For example, if you are a developer and you want to develop a website that is accessible uh, in laptop and at the same time is accessible in your mobile phone, right? So, what challenges the developer can face in this case? Let's say that you want this to be accessed. It is only one web service that to be accessed in the laptop as well as in the mobile phone, right? So if I want to develop any website that can be accessed from any device, laptop and mobile phones or a small screen devices, what challenges I need to consider in this case? Any idea?
The browser already ready, and the application.
Okay.
I think you needed to be link the application with the URL or something like that. Mapping.
Yeah, fine. Good. Any other idea, any other answer for this?
We need to install the applications in our mobile.
To install in mobile phones, whereas we can directly access through the browser. Very good.
Then,
So
the
when we
navigator of the website sometimes the website is working. Some features is working on the website, working on the laptop, but not working on the mobile phone.
Yes, very good point. That some features may work in a laptop that may not work in a mobile phone due to some, some restrictions in the small devices. Let's, for example, the big screen. Laptop has a big screen, so everything can be displayed in a proper format. If you want to take that same onto the mobile phone has a small screen. So in that, we need to consider the challenge, like what is important to be displayed in which format to be displayed. So there is a screen size issue, there is a power
The
issue, there is a
resolution also,
processing issue. Yeah,
the resolution.
yeah, the resolution issue. So there are a lot of challenges that we need to study about it. Like, okay, what is the differences here? Fine. So with this, inshallah, in this course, right, as the course, the course description, the aim and the learning outcome says, we're going to learn about these web services. We're going to learn about cloud computing. We're going to learn about the mobile applications, okay, development. So this is what is, in this course we are gonna learn. If you have any question that you want to ask about the course, please go ahead.
Doctor, the activity, we need to do some activity because some activity, like the first chapter,
Yeah,
we have 4 activity.
yeah,
I have difficulty with the understand the softlet option or web server.
yeah.
Can you
Yes,
do the activity
very good,
for?
very good, very good. We are
And me,
gonna,
doctor.
sorry.
And me, doctor.
Yeah, no problem, inshallah. We're going to take the activities, inshallah, and activities are very important in the course. And I recommend that every student should do the activities. Okay, by activities, you're going to learn this course. Okay, the block 1 activities are very important. And inshallah, I'm going to support you with that. Today, inshallah, I'll do some activities with you. Okay, and then that will make it easy for you to go through the activities and to do the activities by yourself. Okay, but time inshallah, I'm going to support that by doing the activities. Either if time permits, I'll do it in the class. If not, I'm gonna have an extra session, or at least I'll make some videos up on it and share with you. Okay, so there inshallah you will get clear picture of how to work with the activities. Fine. Is there any other question? Any other question? Okay, so thank you very much, and inshallah we're just gonna start today's session from the meeting where we left. Okay, so we left in meeting 1, sorry, the part 1 of block 1, right? Where we got to do some, this includes a kind of activity here that you're gonna learn it today, inshallah. Yeah, from here, right? Communication development. Here we stop, right?
Here stop, yeah, doctor. Here.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, I'll do the recording also, inshallah. We'll share the recording also with you, no worries. Okay, fine. I believe that you have all installed the NetBeans with JDK. Is that I'm right?
Yes,
Yes.
I install it.
Okay, that's great, because this is much required to do all the activities. Okay, fine. So today, inshallah, we'll continue here from the topic where we left in our last class, communication development material. Here, the idea is just to give you some technical details, or you can say some programming about how the servlets to be created, JSP to be created, what is the difference between JSP and servlet, and socket programming, what is sockets, okay, and how we can request an internet pages, right, how we can write a program to read the web pages, okay, that we can access the web pages, okay. So first thing that we need to understand the flow of data, which is called stream, that we can write the programs to read the data from a source and to write the data to the destination. You have wrote the programs in M105, in M251, that using keyboard you enter some data. So your Java program is going to read the data from the keyboard, and on the screen it will display the data, that is the output stream, the output, the destination. So whenever you write a program, right, your Java program, you ask the user, for example, enter 2 digits. Let's say program is for addition. So here you ask the data, okay, the user enter the data. So the data flow from the keyboard. The source is the keyboard. From the keyboard to the program. Program does the addition and return the result on the destination, that is the screen. Okay, on the screen. So reading and writing the data. So in Java, the data goes in a form of a stream. A stream is a sequence of bytes representing flow of data from a source to destination. Source is from where you are reading the data and destination is from where you are writing the data. Okay, initially, let's say source is a keyboard. From the keyboard, we enter the data and on the screen, on the monitor, we display the data. So destination is screen. But we can read the data from the file and we can write the data to the file. Okay, and at the same time, we can exchange the data between computers in a network. The data is sent to one computer, the data comes from another computer. Fine. So there is a flow of data. Okay, that is called a stream. Now, for any read or write, if you want to perform any read operation or write operation, we have three simple steps to be followed. The first step is to open the stream. For that, you need to define some objects. Then use these streams for reading and writing the data by using some methods of the objects what you create here, and then close the stream. Fine. So that means that first I open the stream. This is I am opening the stream. Okay, and use some method to either to read it or either to write onto this or to read from it. Okay, this is the second step. And then third step is to close this stream. Release this stream. Okay, I'm done with the reading and writing. Okay, so if you go back to M105, what you did, you use system.out.println to write the data, and you use scanner, right? A scanner to read the data from the keyboard. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you all know that you read the data and you write the data using scanner and the system.in object and the system.out object for writing the data. Okay, so if I take that into NetBeans, for example, I'll just share the NetBeans with you now. Can you see the NetBeans?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm creating here a test project where I have a test file where I want to read the data. So I'll just say scanner input is equal to new scanner of system.in. This is reading for the reading purpose, right? I need to import that, and I'll just say, for example, string name equals input dot next. I'll use next line to read one line. Okay, and for the output, what I have to use?
Brent.
I have to use system.out.println or print whatever, welcome, then plus name. So here, when I am using this scanner and printing this, okay, I can close this in dot close to close the stream. Okay, so if I run this program, it is very simple that it will ask me to it is waiting for me to enter the name. I just enter the name and says welcome Muhammad. Okay, it's very simple. Fine. This is how it works. This is I am opening the stream. Now I am using that to read it. Okay, and then I am closing the stream. Fine. In simple words, I am just referring to the keyboard, reading from the keyboard, writing on the screen, and then closing that reading. After close, I cannot use that stream. Okay. Now this is for the keyboard and mouse. What if I want to read from a file? I'll just comment it. I want to read from a file. So first I need to create a file object, file f is equal to new file of, I need to mention the location of the file where the file is present. So I'll say e in e.txt. I have a file e. So file, I need to import java.io.file for that. And then I can use something called print writer to write to a file. Print writer pr is equal to new print writer of f. I want to write to the file. For a print writer, I need to import again print writer class that is from java.io. Okay, I'll just say import java.io.star. Okay. Now what happened to this? Print writer.
Capital P.
The B is the small B is small. Make
Yeah,
it
yeah.
B is capital.
It should be capital, right? Yeah. Very good. New print writer of. Okay, this needs an exception, so I'll just add a throws here, throws input output exception, just to throw the exception if there is any exception. Okay, now PR is a stream. Now when I create this PR, I'm creating a stream to write something, okay, to the file. So I can use pr.println, the method, okay, to write something to the file. Let's say welcome to M355 352 pr.println, how are you? Okay, and I can just close that stream. So if I run this program, I should have this file in my system in the E in the location, okay, and I should have these two things. So let me just check that in my drive. Test.txt. Yeah, I got that content here. So I'll just share that with you so that it will be clear. Yeah, you can see here now the file contents. Welcome to TM352. How are you? I'm just gonna change that just to give you a feel like, okay, I'll say this course is about web development, something like that, and I'm gonna execute it again, and you can see the change here. I'll just refresh now. Just give me a second. Yeah, so now you can see the change here.
Doctor, we can't see the screen.
Yeah, I can see it now, right? Yeah, so you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that I made the change in the NetBeans. I'm sorry. Let me share the NetBeans. Okay, so that I made a change in the NetBeans that is affected. Okay, is that clear? That we read and write. Is it clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay, that's very good. Fine. So what if I want to read, okay, and then write to the file? If I want to read from a file,
Use a scanner.
we can use a scanner, and we can use other reading methods. Whether we use a scanner as we did it
or
for
buffer reader.
Yeah, very good. Or buffer reader we can use. You are used to scanner, but I will not go to the scanner. I'll go to the buffer reader. Okay. So I'll use buffer reader. Buffer reader br is equal to new buffered reader of new file reader of read from the file f. What I write to the file, I want to read it. So when I read it, I will store that into a string s as br dot read line. I am reading line, one line. I will just gonna print that line, system dot out dot println s. So one line that I write to this file, I'll just read it. Okay, and I'll say br dot close. Okay, so you see the first line what I write here, welcome to TM352, is written in my output. So I'll change this to welcome to web development. Okay, I run it again. So I got my output. But if I want to read the complete file, very simple is that you put that in a loop while s is not equal to null. Okay, and just print that and read it again. S is equal to br dot read line. Okay, that's it. Just format it. Fine. So I'm reading all the content. Okay, say for example, welcome to web development. This course code is TM352. This is I'm writing to the file and then reading from that file and printing it again. Right? So is that clear, reading and writing from the file?
Yes,
Is
clear.
that clear?
Yes, Doctor, clear.
Okay. Mahmoud Fauzi, is there any issue, any problem? You're most welcome. Okay. Now I'll take you to our slide that will continue our discussion, reading and writing. Yeah, you already took it. Just I want to repeat it because some of the student last class said that they are unaware of this. Okay, I just repeated that for your, to make it more clear. Moving ahead, we want to access the resource on the web. Right, on the website, for example, if you want to access something from the website, how do we access is that by using an address which is called URL. Right, you all know about the URL is nothing but an address to access any resource. It is a web page or it is any document or a printer, anything you want to access through the web, that is used by using the URL, which is called uniform resource locator. Okay, for example, I want to access this page on openasc.uk in computing folder. I want to access this file, so I'll just use this resource and get that. I want to access google.com. What I will do, I'll just say www.google.com in my browser. I'll access that, right, whatever. So in programming, if I want to access that, programming also provides a way to access those things. So how is that? We can create an URL object and use that URL object to access the resource. It has different constructors. For example, this constructor will just take the URL and access the index page. Second constructor, which is the protocol separately you specify the protocol, then the domain name. Okay, and the third protocol, different protocol with the port number and the file name. Okay, in the coming slides you will see what is a port number, what is a port and what is a port number. Okay, then so if you want to write a program to read a website, it's also very simple. Okay, we create a URL and using that URL we read all the data. That is, we read the web page. If you want to read the web page, create a URL of that and read the web page. Web page is what? It is an HTML file, HTML document. You can easily read that line by line. all the HTML document can be readable. Very simple. Okay, so you can see some code here that is used to read and to test that reading. Okay, I'll just do that here for you, that how you can read a web page. Okay, so I'll just go back to the NetBeans here so that it will be easy for you to understand. I'll create in the same package. I'll create a new Java class. I'll name it as web reader 1. Okay, so this is my class where I want to read the data from the website. Okay, so for that I'll create a buffer reader to read the data. So I'll just create a buffered reader from website I want to read. So I'll just say from web. This is my one of the variable. So I'll keep this as private, for example. I need to import this buffer reader. Okay, I'll just do import java.io.star. Okay, and now I'll write a constructor for this public web reader 1 of string address, whatever the address we give here. Okay, from that address we are gonna read the all the content, the web page content. Okay, so I'll create a URL object because I need to create a URL to read. Okay, so I'll say that read URL is equal to new URL of the address. Okay, I have to read from this URL. Okay, this need also be, I think, java.net. Okay, so I'll import java.net.star. This need java.net. What happened to this? Yeah, this should throw some exception. Okay, throws. I think it should throw malform exception. Malformed URL exception. Okay, this should throw a malform. Okay, and then I'll initialize this buffer reader that I want to read. Use this object to read the. So new buffered reader. You can write completely here also, no problem. New input stream reader of the URL read URL dot open stream. Okay, I'm opening the stream for this URL. What happened here? IO exception. What is this? Unexpected semicolon.
Comma between them.
Great, thank you very much. So fine, done. So I'm wrote this constructor. Whenever I create an object of it, it create me a URL for the given address, and it open a stream to read the data. Okay. So I'll write a method to print it. So I'll just public void print the data. That may throw an exception because I'm reading from the website. So of course this will be throwing some exception. So I'll just add it here, input output exception. So I have this just like what we did before. Same thing we have to do. Okay. Mr. Fauzi says, why throws exception? How this works? Throws exception is, for example, exception is nothing but any problem or any error. If something happens here, that URL is not correct or something happened, then this will throw an exception to the object class. So you don't need to catch that exception, or you can also catch the exception. So you have to study about throws and catch in Java. Okay. It's very simple. Inshallah, you will get that. Okay. We can use try catch. We can use this also. If you want to handle it by yourself here, you can use try catch. Okay. So I'll create a string s is equal to from web dot read line. I'm reading one line. Okay. So while s is not equal to null, I'll just print it system dot out dot println of s and then read it again from s is equal to from web okay. So inshallah this method, what it will do, it will read the URL, okay, contents, and it will display here in the output screen. Okay. So to test this, we need to go back to the main method. So I'll just go here to the main method and let me just comment it all other contents here. And I'm going to add the contents from here. Okay. So that it will be clear for you. I'll add the contents from here. Okay. So what I have to do is that I have to create the object of that web reader class. Web reader 1 WR is equal to new web reader 1 of. Now here you give the address from where you want to access or from where you want to read the content. Okay. So here I'll say, let's say for example, https www.arabou.edu.sa. Okay. So this I want to read. Fine. So what is the print method? WR dot print. This is the print method for us. Okay. Now I created this. So let us run this and see whether we see that HTML content of this arabou.edu.sa. So now you can see here, this is all the HTML content of arabou.edu.sa index page, the home page. All the content of the home page. Okay. And similarly, if you want to go for any specific page, you can address the URL here. And make sure that when you run this program, you should be connected to the internet. Okay. Your system should be connected to the internet when you run this program. So if you want to access any other resource, just put a slash and go to that particular resource and you can print it. For example, if I go here, let me just take something from AOU, ArabOU. This will take.
Doctor,
Yes.
this output for what?
This is only, it is showing that how you read the content from the website. How you can read the content from the website. That it is showing. Okay.
Okay.
Fine. So I'll just try to take something, some link here, and we try to print that. That is about the university. We want to print about the university here as an output. So let me run this, and they will
Doctor,
see.
this is not a structure. What you did it.
Sorry.
The configuration in the main method. This is
Yeah.
it's not structure, new structure, a new construct.
Yes, it is a constructor. Yeah. We create a constructor and we pass the address and we read that URL. Okay. So this show you that how you can read the URL.
But I can do it without an instruction, without anything in the main method. I can do it.
You want to write it in the main method itself?
Yes.
Yeah, you can do it. You need to add those exceptions, add a method or whatever you want to write directly without adding methods. It's up to you. But that is not a good practice, right? Is I'm right that is not a good practice that you write everything in one method.
Yes, okay, but like what you did for
But
reading.
still, but still you can write it. Fine. But you have studied in M105 that is not a good practice. But anyway, you can write it, no problem. Fine. Moving ahead, I want to take you to the something called ports and sockets. Ports and sockets. See, whenever we try to connect to any website, it is connected by using something called IP address, right? Is I'm right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. When we connect to any website through IP address, we want to access something, whether we are accessing some web pages or we are accessing some files or we are accessing printer, for example. So for different purpose, we connect to the server or to another computer for different purpose. It is not only that anytime I connect only for the web content. No, I may connect to download some files. I may connect to access printer. I may connect to access storage, different things. Okay. So here comes how do we differentiate what type of request we are going to make, or how can we differentiate that what is the type of the request that is making, whether to access the web page or to access a file or to access a printer, whatever the other things. Okay. So here port number will help to solve this problem. Port number is nothing but it is a number, okay, that defines that what you want to access. So if the port number is 80, then it means you are accessing a web page. If the port number is 21, you are accessing a file or downloading a file. Okay, so a port number is nothing but a conduit, or what we call it is a passage or a way or a road into a host on the internet, into a server on the internet. Port is a logical idea. It is not same as a parallel port or USB port what you see in your system. It is not a hardware part, but it is a logical part. Okay, you don't see port inside the server. The what you say the USB port or any other thing, hardware part, no, that is not this. This is a logical thing. Okay, so whenever we connect to any computer, the TCP communication in and out of a computer is through the port numbers, is via the port numbers. Okay, for example, port number 80 is used for web server, 21 is used for FTP server, and similarly you can find many different ports for different purposes, for different purpose. Okay, so that is a port. Now coming to the socket. Socket is a combination of port number and the IP address, because when we want to access any data from the server or any web page from the server, we have to give the IP address of the server, that is the domain of the server, along with the port number to which we want to connect. Okay, so when we combine these two, this is called a socket. Okay, so a socket is a software mechanism that allows programs to transfer data between the program across the internet via the ports. Yes, brother.
This board we can use it after we install, for example, the IIS like a web server. Then the server he listen in this port.
Yes, the server listen to the port when we make a request to the server with this port number. Okay.
Yes.
Fine. So this is the concept. Okay. Fine. So a socket is nothing but it's a combination of IP address and a port number. That is a socket. In very simple terms. For a client server communication, we need a matching pair of sockets one on the client, the other on the server. So a client uses this IP address or the domain name along with the port number to access what he want from the server. If he is using port number 80 on this server to access a web page, that means that he is trying to access a web page. The server will respond on this port to give him some web pages in a HTML format. If he is trying, the client is trying through port number 21, connecting through port number 21, that means server will understand that this client want a file, which file the client will specify. So the server will supply that file on the same port. So even on the client side, there is a ports. The server side, there is a ports. So I'll just show you that here in this figure, the client side and the server side. The client want to access this, okay, open.ac.uk that supplies here, fine, that connects to the this IP address. This is the IP address for this domain. So it is considered as an IP. So connects to port, for example, 3000 and gets the response back on the same port from the server. Okay, so this is the idea about the ports and the socket to connect. So in Java, we can create the sockets for a client and for server. For example, if you are writing a server program, you can create socket. For a client program, you can create a socket. You can use a class called socket, which has a constructor that specifies the domain name here or the IP, okay, and the port number here. This should specify the port number. For example, this one, okay, this one or this one with the domain name and here with the IP address, and use this get input stream methods to open the stream and to write the data and to read the data. Okay. Similarly, there is a server sockets that need to be created, but server socket is different from the client socket because server is gonna respond, accept the request and then response. Okay, so it will accept the request and then it will make a response to that. So server socket uses this two constructors. One is constructor with a one parameter that is specify only the port number. Okay, the other is specifying the port number along with the number of clients can connect. Maximum number of clients can connect on this port to the server is specified here. Okay, so server socket is different from the client socket. So at the server end, the socket has the address of the client and a suitable port number for the service required by the client. And at the client end, the socket has the address of the server and the port number for a particular request. And they use that input and output streams to read and write the data, to receive and to send the data. And this picture does describe it very clearly that how the client and the server program will work to exchange the data between the client and the server. Fine. So on this, we don't need to go into the detail of writing the program for socket and all. We just have the concept of it because the things are more clear now that we don't need to write the socket programming and all. We can simply write the programs that will do everything for us.
This is Doctor. This is not coming in the exam.
No, socket programming and all will not come to the exam, inshallah.
Right, thank you.
But they will ask, they may ask you what is there on the slides. Might be they ask like, for example, with the what is the constructor for socket, what is the constructor for server socket, something like that.
But the concept itself.
But the concept itself, there is no programming on it.
Okay.
Okay. The next topic is that we need to understand these servlets. Servlets are nothing but they are the server pages, Java server pages that which are executed on in the server. Okay, whatever the request comes from the client, these are executed in the server in the servlets. Okay, and the servlets run in the server. They can access the database, they can access whatever the resources in the server, create a output file, okay, and send to the client. and sent to the client which is trying to access the servlet. So servlets are the modules of Java code that are stored and run on the web server, replaces common gateway interface. That means once you write the server, you don't need to write other things to respond to the server, right? No need for socket programming and all. Okay. Servlet implements a wide variety of functions such as processing data, accessing databases, constructing web pages dynamically. That means generating dynamic web pages. All this can be done by the server, and these are written in normal Java code. Okay, because they are run on the server, we can control the security also because they stay in the server. So we have the security of the server. On top of it, we can also have more security in the application also. Okay. So since all the processing is done in the server, the client which access this server servlets are called thin clients because clients will not do anything. Do you know what is thin client and a thick client in a client server architecture? Any idea about thin client and thick client and thin client?
No.
Thinking client like the browser is a think client, and no processing any data. Thick in the server side, he processing everything, doing everything.
No, it is client, not server. It is not going to the server. We're talking about the client machine only. You're good, and your answer is right, but don't include that word server. Instead of server, word replace there by client. Okay. See, you have seen the supermarket cashier, right? For example, in Panda or in Carrefour or somewhere, right? Their machine. Yeah,
I think
see their machine. Sorry?
Yes, I think thick client who has to have software and hardware and everything with it. And thin client is like, for example, web app. You can log in with your mobile. You can log in with any machine. You don't have to have either software nor hardware with it.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Good. It's also an answer for it. So let me make it more clear for you that a thin client does not do any kind of processing. It will just access and display. That's it. It access a web page and display. For example, you are using your laptop or mobile phone to access any service, okay, from the browser. Browser is a thin client. Just access the data, display it. Access the web page, display it. Okay. Thick clients are those which do some functionality. For example, if you see that cashier machine of the supermarket, this cashier machine has some functionalities. For example, to add the total of the bill before sending this to the server, because it has all that bills, right? All the product and prices. Adding total, no need to send to the server. Can be done at the client side only when all the price is there. We'll do all the calculation and show the total. If the customer pays for it, then it will press enter, then the total will go to the server, and the database, in the database it will be updated. These products sold, this is the total amount, and so on. Okay, so thin client does not do any kind of processing. It will just access the web and display the web. Thick client has some kind of functionality to do apart from the server. Okay, this is the difference between the thin and the thick client. So whenever we access any, so yes.
What about JavaScript? JavaScript will be always on the client side. So is it thin or thick client?
JavaScript will be on the client side. If the JavaScript is doing some kind of processing, some kind of functionality, at that point of time we can say that it is a thick client. Otherwise, it is a thin client. Okay. Clear?
Just a little bit, because always there will be functionality when there is a JavaScript, but it's it's not that hard. It's not
Yeah,
not
it's
taking
not that hard.
process.
Yeah, it's not that hard. It's not going to do. We are not making the client as a server. We're not giving any hard work to the client because we don't know client what machine he is or she is using. The client machine is what is the platform and what is the capacity of that machine. So we just have those things
Yeah.
which
For
is very
example, some
simple.
animations,
Yeah, yeah,
validation for web services, for example.
yeah.
Would this be considered thick client even if it's simple like this?
See, in very simple is that even if it is some kind of functionality, if the client is doing a kind of functionality, we can consider that as a thick client because it is doing some functionality. And if there is no functionality, then we say that it as a thin client. For example, I'm accessing www.arabou.edu.sa. Okay, this will display only the content of the index page and it will not display me anything. Fine. There is no calculations, nothing. So here in this
Yes.
case, this is a thin client. On the other side, I'm accessing to do that comes with some JavaScript code to do something, or that comes with some animation and need some plugins and work in my system. Then my system or my device becomes a thick client. Okay.
Okay, clear.
Thank you very much. So whenever we access the servlets, the client is a thin client because servlets does everything to you and it comes only the data to you. Okay. Now, how does the servlet works is that by using the HTTP request and HTTP response. So it has a objects called HTTP request and HTTP response. Fine. The servlet could accept the HTTP request and any associated data. Yeah.
This is the HTTP method اللي هي response and get and post. This is the HTTP method.
Yes, this is with HTTP request and HTTP response. Methods will come that we use the methods in the servlets, get and post.
And this flat only I think you install in the server. It's not
In
in the
the
client.
server only. No, in the
Yes.
server only. Yes. Yeah. So the code the servlet accept the code through HTTP request with any parameters passed to the servlet, and it will make a response through HTTP response, which is sent back to the web client. Okay. So we have that here in this figure that we make a HTTP request and we get a HTTP response from the servlet, and server does all the job and return the response to the client, that is to the browser. It has methods which is init method, which is the first method to be executed to load all the resources or any initialization to be done for the servlet. It has a service method. It has a do get and do post method. It has do option method. Fine. Destroy method, which is invoked to clean up all the resources. Okay. So there are different methods which are used for different purpose here in the servlet. Okay. So all the description is given here for that. So you can go through it. It is self-explanatory. No need to explain in detail about that. But I will just show you that how you can create a servlet. Okay. In NetBeans. It is very simple and easy. And you can create the servlets and you can run the servlets. Fine. And you can add the functionality in it. For example, in this case, you see this one, the servlet, this is a servlet. Okay, where we write the do get method. Inside this get method, we wrote some code and we run this servlet. This will be converted into HTML, which will be displayed on the screen. Fine. So in NetBeans, you can create the servlets, which is easy and simple, and you can also add code to it. Okay, you can also add the code to the servlets. So if you want, I can take you to that NetBeans to create the servlets. What do you think? You want to create the servlets?
Yes.
Okay. So for that, we create a new project. Okay. So what we have to create is a Java web because we are to create a servlet on the server. Fine. And then we want to access that servlet. Fine. When you install this NetBeans, I'm sure you have installed for Java Double Enterprise Edition along with the Glassfish server. Okay. So you must have this services Glassfish server. Okay. To do this. Fine. So assuming that you have installed everything. So we'll do this activity. We create a servlet here. So to create a servlet, first we create a new project. So Java web project, Java application, next. And I'm gonna name it here, web application 1. Okay, let's keep it as a web application 1. And I'll create here server to be Glassfish and Java version, whatever you have, I'll keep this as EE7. Okay, and the path is this one. Fine, on the local host. This is my application path. Fine, so I just click on finish. I don't need any framework. So this way I got my servlet. Okay, I got this index page. This is my the home page of my server. Okay, my web application. So this is
HTML.
Yeah, this is HTML and this is my home page, the index page. Fine. So usually index page is the home page for everything. So if I run this now at this point, if I run this, what I get is that I get this index page. Okay. So I can share that with you. Let me just share the screen so it will be clear for you. Instead of window. Yeah, so you can see here now that if I run this one, okay, I get this HTML code. This one, this is localhost, this is the server, and this is my web application 1, and this is the index page, which is this one.
Doctor, this is by default is make it 8080 the port.
By default 8080, and this is the local host, which is my own system, is the server and running as client also. Okay. So here, if I say, for example, welcome to M352, this will be displayed. Very simple. Okay. Now, how to add the servlet? This is the home page. This is the web application I'm creating, and my web application name is web application 1, and this is the index page. To create the servlet, I'll just right click on this new servlet. Okay, and name the servlet. For example, I'll say this as my servlet. Okay, click on next. Add this information to the web XML, and if you want to add any parameter to this servlet, that means that this servlet takes some input, do the processing, and return the result. Okay, so if you want to add any parameter to this servlet, you can add from here, new, initialize the parameter. I will add a parameter called name here with nothing as a value. Okay, I'll keep this and I'll click finish. Okay, now this is the servlet which is created in my default package. This is the servlet, my servlet, which is extending HTTP servlet, which has do get and do post. Do get with request and response, and do post with request and response. And these two methods, to make it more simple to you, these two methods are calling process request with this parameters of request and response. And I'll just do one thing. Just keep it as it is, and I will add something in my servlet. Okay, in this, where it is, sorry, yeah. So I will add here in the process request, because do get and post both are invoking this with the request and the response parameter. So it is one method where we can add the request and response both. Sorry, do get and post both here. Okay. Now this servlet will just give me some servlet information, the context path of this server. If you want to run this, just right click on it, and this is asking for any parameters if I am giving. So I'll not give any parameters. I'll just want to display this. This says servlet, my servlet at the web application at this project. Okay, this is the context path of the servlet. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so this is just giving me the context path. Okay, what is there? Fine, but I can run this. Fine, to give you to take that parameter name and display something. Okay, we can run that. Fine, so we can run that to take some parameter and display something. Just give me a second. Where is the location?
Doctor, this is no GUI from this flat. You can do it through the GUI, only coding.
Which one? I did not get you.
I cannot configure through the GUI. All you need is
configure in any of the platform you want.
yeah, but through the GUI or through the script, you need to write the script coding.
See, the basic code you need to write, but not everything is required. Whatever is basic is required, that you need to write. Okay, not everything is required. Basic what is required that we need to add. Okay. Just a minute, please. Send this to him. Okay, so this is giving me the context path of this fine. So instead of the printing the context path, I'll just want to print the parameter which I take. Okay, get parameter of name. I'm taking the parameter name and I want to print that parameter. Okay, so that I want to do it here. Fine. So if I run this now, it asks me a parameter here. So how we pass the parameter is that question mark name is equal to Muhammad. This is the parameter. So when I run this once, you see this is servlet, my servlet at Muhammad. This is the parameter what I get. Okay. So this is to show you that, okay, this servlet is working. Fine. This servlet is working. But if I want to access this servlet from the index, that is from the client machine, from the client. So how can I access? For example, I run this, I get welcome message, but I want to access that servlet. So the servlet is in my project web application 1. So here I'll write my servlet. Okay, and I'll give it here. No, this is S my servlet. So it is giving my servlet at null. Why it is giving null? Because I'm not giving any parameter here, right? So the name is null here. There is no name entered. If I give parameter here, name equals Muhammad. So I get my servlet at Muhammad. This is the parameter. Fine. So to access it is the URL that we have to access the URL of the servlet. Fine. But when we see that whenever we go to any website, we find some links. When we click the link, it will go to another page, something like that, right? So in that case, if I want to do something like that, that. That I want to go through some link instead of typing that inside that name. I want inside that URL typing the name of the servlet and the parameter. I want to go through some link. So we can create simply link here. Here we create that link. You ask the user click and it will go. Okay, just a minute, please. What happened to this guy? Brother, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry, students. Just give me 1 minute, okay? I'll come back to you.
Doctor, no sound.
Okay, I'm sorry. So what I did is I create an anchor tag, which is to create the links, and I pass the reference as my favorite link. Okay. So now I'll just run this one. Fine. I'll run this. Oh, it's disturbing a lot. Okay, now I'll run this project. Fine, I got the link here. Click me to the servlet. So this will take me to the servlet, but it is null because I'm not passing any parameters. So if I want to pass the parameters, then what I have to do is that either I can pass the parameters from here with a question mark, name equals Muhammad as parameter. Okay, so I'll run the here. So welcome at Muhammad. Or I can create a form here. I can create a form that will take the input parameter and that will submit to the servlet, and that servlet will be displayed. So how I can create that form is that here I have this form. I need to write the form tag, but I'll just drag and drop here the form whose action is the URL. Action, the URL is my servlet. Okay, and inside this form I'll add an input button, which is an input text whose name is name. Okay, so whenever I enter this text, okay, and click a submit button, put a button here which is submit. I'll put a submit button. That data will be given to the servlet. Okay, and it will be
Sorry,
displayed.
Doctor.
Yes.
But can student mute his mic?
Students, can you please mute the mic? I just muted them all. Okay, so now you see there is a text box. I'll enter here Ahmed submit. So it says it goes to the server as parameter and say Ahmed.
The parameter like a variable.
Yes, it is a variable. It is a parameter to the servlet. It's a data to the servlet. So for example, you are sending username and password, right? So when you send the username and password, what it will do when you send the username and password? It will go to the servlet, that username and password taken from the form, right?
Yeah,
so when I
but this is
submit
in
this,
the this is in the HTTP. It's a posting method.
no, it is yeah, it is a guest or port method. By default, it is a guest. If you want to make the post method, I just write it here, method equal post, because by default it is guest method. So that's why it is showing that as a guest method. I should make it that as a post here. So I'll say, for example, Abdullah. So you can see now there is no parameters, and this is post method. Okay, is it clear?
It's for me. It's not clear.
What is the question? What is the
Now this is the. Now we are created two projects. One Java, one HTML.
where is Java? This is server project. This is a server.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
server file. Okay,
Okay.
and
Now
this is in the server. Now as a client, I want to access the client. Okay, so I'll use Chrome. Okay, I have to type what? The address of the domain, right? Which is localhost. Fine. So I will write localhost here, localhost 8080. The application name as web application. Okay. So now I reach to the home page of the server. That is home page of the website. Now this is the content of the website. What I do here is I want to go to another page, or I want to go to the server to do some processing. So what I want is that I'll just enter my name here, or whatever the simple thing is, Abdullah.
okay.
Submit. It goes to the server, process it, and comes back to my client and give me the result.
So can you tell us how to mapping the text file to the servlet?
How?
Now there is text. We put it to Muhammad or Abdullah.
Okay.
And this mapping to the servlet or no?
It goes as a parameter. The servlet, when we create, we have one parameter for it, right?
Yes.
Whose name is, what is the name of the parameter? Name.
Name.
Right? So we are
Yes.
passing that as a parameter. So when the user enter it here, what is there in the source file? The source file, it has a name. Okay. So this is passed as a parameter to this servlet, to this link on action with the servlet. So it will be more clear to you when you see the get method. When you see method as get. Okay. What is that?
Doctor, how can we reach this page? Just we can go to the Chrome.
Just go to the Chrome and do this one, write this localhost. Or if you don't, you can just run this web application. It will take you to the home page. This is the index home page. It will show that. And you enter the data. Now when you submit it, you can see this parameter is given to the servlet. Server take that parameter, do whatever the processing, and return the HTML file, return
Thank
file.
you, doctor.
And you can see the return file. This is the return file. What we get, the client. Okay, and that will be displayed. So for this servlet, the return file, what we see here, this is what we get the return in return. So that is the servlet is giving this, processing all this and returning us this. Clear?
Clear. Thank you, doctor.
Welcome. And the brother who asked this question, how you map this, is it clear?
It's clear. I will do it in myself. If I have something, I will come to you, doctor.
Yes, you have to do it. I'm doing it because of you. See, I'm giving all the time of my lecture just to make you practice and do all the activities of part 1. After this, you have to do all the activities of part 1. Okay, because all part 1 is all this one. Fine. So you have to do this, all the activities of the part 1 also. Anyway, we'll move ahead and we'll see that this is what the example, and we have something called JSP also, Java Server Pages, which is more simple than servlets. In servlets, you see how you write the content, but in JSP, it is more simple. Fine. So there is a difference between JSP and JSP, also called as Java Server Pages. Fine. And this allows you to embed the code of the HTML along with the Java. Fine. That is called a JSP. JSP make it easier to maintain web pages and require the attention of web page designer rather than Java programmer. So Java, if you have a simple task of Java, you can write the JSP instead of writing servlet. And if you have much of Java and very little of HTML, you can write the servlets. Okay, so you can also create the JSP. You can see the differences between JSP and when to use JSP and when to use servlets. As I said, when you have a little of Java and much of HTML, then use JSP. If you have much of Java code and little of HTML, use servlets. Okay, so you can also create the JSP here also. For example, in this application, I want to create a JSP file. So it's very simple that go to the web page, new JSP. Okay, keep this name as new JSP file in this web application. So this is my JSP file. If I want to do the same thing in the JSP file, that what I did in the servlet, instead of doing in the servlet in the JSP file, that I want to access this JSP file from the index file, I can access that. Instead of giving servlet here, give the name as, what is the name of this JSP? New JSP.jsp. Okay, so I can run this one now. I can see here. So it is taking me to the JSP file. You can see new JSP.jsp. So where is that JSP file? Yeah, it is here. And in this, what do we have? We just have a hello world. Fine. So it is giving me that hello world. So that means that I'm going to that JSP. Fine. But what if I want to do the same thing what I did for this servlet? Like, for example, when I click this button, enter the name and click that button. Just say for example Ahmad, and that servlet gave me this result. Similar thing I want to do with the JSP is very simple. You write the similar type of code in JSP. JSP uses this percentage tag to define the JSP code. I say welcome. This what was that? Get parameter. Sorry. So it is out dot println of request dot get parameter of the name. It is the name parameter. Okay. This I will just close it in a JSP tag. This is the JSP tag, the percentage. Okay. So if I want to add something here, h1 and saying welcome Muhammad or something like that. Okay, we can do that. Fine. So in simple words, it will just get me that when we pass the parameter. So I'll go to this index file. The form action I'll change from my servlet to new jsp.jsp. Okay, I'll run here. I'll say Ahmed submit. So hello world, welcome Ahmed. This is from the JSP file. You can see the JSP. So in simple words, you see servlet is how big that you need to write all do, get, do, post and everything. But in JSP, you don't need to write all those things. Fine. Simply use this out object and print and directly it will print. Okay. So it is all again the same request and response the objects will be there for request and response. So you can use the JSP instead of using this servlets. So when to use servlet and when to use JSP is very simple, that whenever you have much of Java code to write, use servlet. Okay, because servlet is a Java file, and and very little of HTML, we use servlet. And whenever you have HTML, lot of HTML codes and very some Java code, use JSP. Okay, this is only the thing we have to do. So this is what we have for this first meeting. So part one. From this, I'm sure that you are going to do all the activities of part one from the activity folder. Okay, this is all reading from the file and getting to know about the servlet. Okay, getting to know about the web pages and all. Fine. So I have done with this part one. I wanted to start part two because it is very important that we need to cover the syllabus also. So I'll take the part two now. I'll just give you some idea about the part two before we close today. Okay. So I just don't want to waste time. Just let me go to the part two now. Yeah, we have the part two here.
شوف هذا طلبية أنا حطيته في مطعم موجة خليج، في واحد يماني حارس اسمه أحمد.
Okay, let me share that part two file here. Yeah, students, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So let me quickly take to this part two, and in this part two, inshallah, we are gonna move ahead with the SOAP and XML services. Okay, we just take the concept of SOAP and service-oriented architecture. Okay, and then inshallah we'll discuss SOAP web services. Okay, and for this inshallah the practical activity, I'll record a video of it, and inshallah I'll share the video of this, like how you create the SOAP web services and how you test the SOAP web services. Okay, so I'll do that because there is no time. So we'll start with this today, inshallah. In this meeting, sorry, we'll talk about SOAP. What is a SOAP called? Simple Object Access Protocol, and its structure. And then we'll discuss about XML. Okay. So whenever we call any web service, what is a web service? We have seen in the part 1. A web service is a program that is accessed via the internet. Okay. So for example, currency conversion web service. So currency conversion service can be accessed by many different applications. Okay. So this service will provide some coding or some service that, okay, whoever need this service can connect to this service and do all the conversions of the conversions of the currency. Fine. So that's a web service is fine. So a web service is used to describe a service that a client, a browser, or an application on a computer can call remotely across the internet, utilizing or using the web protocol and the web standards. So it uses the standards such as XML, HTML, HTTP. These are all open standards, right? So it uses these standards using HTML, using XML, HTTP, and all. Okay. And it can also be used, the web services can also be used for computer to computer interaction between sending the data between the computers, sending and receiving the data between the computers in a form of XML file, for example. Okay. Let us understand what is service oriented architecture. This SOA is based on breaking the whole process into pieces of processes or into different tasks. Okay, so for example, currency conversion is a service, for example, to convert some currency from one currency to another currency. Okay, so we need for example, let's say there is a data storage that allow to store the data, okay, to access the data for later purpose, like what was the currency conversion yesterday, before yesterday, and all, saving all the data. Okay, so in this case we have different things that whenever we want to access this service called currency conversion, okay, we may access this service to currently convert the currency, or we want to see that when yesterday what was the currency and before yesterday what was the currency rate, and so on. Okay, to access through some data storage or something like that. Okay, so by using this SOA architecture, service oriented architecture, it made very simple that how we can access these services, This is based on 3 roles, okay, which is a request, a directory or a registry, and the service itself. Okay, so what is a request or a requester? A requester is gonna find or looking for a service. Okay, so or it can be a client that is looking for a service, or it can be a computer looking for a service, or a web application looking for a service. So a requester is trying to find some service, and where he will find in the directory. And what is a directory? A directory holds the detail of web services that are available via the web, via the HTTP, for example. Okay, so and who will create this directory, or who will publish all these services in the directory? By the service creator. Okay, the service is been created and it will be published in the directory. Then the requester will search for this service, and once found the service, will connect to that service is separate. The requester will connect. Okay, so 3 roles: the requester role to find the services, the directory role where all the services are published, and the service itself which is creating the service and publishing its all its description in the directory. Okay, so to find a service on the web, the simple thing is that requester must know the URL of the service or of a directory, sorry, to find the service. So it will just try to find the service. Once the service is located, it will connect the service. Okay, by using protocols like HTTP to connect the services. Okay, or SMTP. Fine. So this web service architecture will help us to see what are the different protocols were used. Okay, so here the web service architecture will give us the realization of SOA, that is a service oriented architecture that is used to provide service over the internet. It has 4 layers, this architecture. The first layer is a network layer, fine. Network transport layer, which uses the different protocols to pass the messages. Okay, which is, for example, HTTP or SMTP for mail and FTP for sending and receiving the files. Then message encoding layer. This is a standard approach to encode a message, okay, in a particular standard, right, in a XML or in a SOAP, okay, or in a RESTful, okay, to send and receive the data. Then we have service description layer. So this provide a way to describe a web service so that it can be accessed and used. So this language called WSDL, Web Service Description Language, is used to describe the services. And service discovery layer, that provide the means to publish the description of the web service and to find the web service. Okay. Okay. So this OR can be understood now in a form in this web service architecture as a client send a request to search, or a client search a directory to get the service. But before that, this service to be published. So first the service is created and it is published in a directory. Then client make a search for this service, get the description of the service. That is, what is the location of this service? What is the URL of this service? What is the input parameter it will take? Okay, what is the output parameter, or what we get the output? All the description will be given here. So then it will send a service request, okay, and get the service response. Fine. So first step is to publish the service. Then after creating, publish the service, then the client send a request, search for the service, get the service description back, that what is the service, what is the URL of the service, and so on. Then it will connect. Once get the URL, for example, it will connect to the service and get the response from the service. This is the all the 5-step process in accessing the service. And here this figure will show us what are the different protocols, uh, different protocols that is used at different levels here, or different roles. We have at the client side to search for a service. Of course, we write a program or a client browser, something like that. Uh, that is make a search here in the directory where the service is published. The service is published by using WSDL, which is Web Service Description Language. And then we get this response that okay, get that the service description, and then make a request by using something called SOAP. Okay, and then get the response in a SOAP. SOAP is nothing but the XML documents. So send a request as an XML document and receive that as an XML document. So in this part, you will see the activities is about learning about creating the services and then accessing those services. Okay. So first of all, let us understand the SOAP. The SOAP is a simple object access protocol. SOAP is a standards in its own right, that it is W3C recommendation. It uses XML as message format. XML is extensible markup language. It is very similar to HTML, but the difference is that HTML uses predefined tags. In HTML, we have HTML tag, body tag, H1, anchor tag, button form tag and so on, right? And every tag has a meaning, but XML is a user defined tag that user can write its own tags, right, in XML. So XML is nothing but extensible markup language, where HTML is hypertext markup language. HTML is predefined and XML is user defined. Okay, so the SOAP is nothing but the XML messages. It is in a form of XML format, and it relies on the other open application layer protocols such as HTTP or SMTP to exchange the messages or to exchange the data. Okay, so SOAP is XML based protocol with a message structure consists of three distinct parts, which is envelope, which is called as SOAP envelope, the encoding rules, and the convention representing remote procedure calls and responses. Okay, so it's a framework that specifies the structure of the information in a form of SOAP envelope. Envelope construct defines overall framework for expressing what is in the message. The envelope shows what is in the message. So who should deal with the message and whether it is optional or mandatory. Encoding rule defines a serialization mechanism that is used to exchange instance of application defined data types. If there is any defined data types that will be used to define the values or to define the messages in the XML file, then those are described in the SOAP encoding rules. And then we have RPC, remote procedure call, which defines a convention that can be used to represent remote procedure calls and responses. That is RPCs and the responses. Okay. Okay, here you can see the SOAP envelope along with other components of the SOAP. A SOAP envelope contains the SOAP header and the header entry. And we have the SOAP body where we have the message inside the SOAP body. Okay, so this it is in a form of XML file. It is in a form of XML file. We can see the XML file something like this. For example, we have this SOAP in a form of XML file with XML version. This is the root tag of this, the conversion parameters. Okay, so let's say this is a request to the service, the SOAP request to the service, and the request goes to the service in the server and generate a response and return the response. So what can be the response? The SOAP response is again an XML file with conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Is again an XML file with from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, so upon a request, SOAP message are transmitted from sender to the receiver. Any software agent that send receive these messages is called SOAP node. It is sending and receiving these messages. Okay, we call them as a SOAP node. The node that performs the initial transmission of the message is called original sender. The final node that consume and process the message is called the ultimate receiver. In between, if there is any node that is passing these SOAP messages, we call it as an intermediary nodes. Okay, so about writing a SOAP service and writing a client to access this service, this SOAP service. Okay, and we need to understand like what is the SOAP service. We need to understand like how the SOAP is created in a form of XML. First of all, we need to see how to create a web service. Then from that, the SOAP web service, how it looks like. Okay, and then we can create a client to access that service, Okay, so as we saw that SOAP messages are in XML, so let us understand first the syntax of the XML. As I said, XML is an extensible markup language. Okay, it is published by W3C. Okay, Worldwide Consortium. World Wide Web Consortium. Okay, you can check this standards in W3 website. Fine. It is a markup language like an HTML, but as I said, HTML has predefined tags and XML has user-defined tags. Okay, so in XML you can find any tags. It is not only fixed tags, no, any kind of tags. Okay, and these tags will define the meaning of the messages or meaning of the data. For example, if I say here Celsius, it means this data is a Celsius data, this temperature in Celsius, and this Fahrenheit, this is in Fahrenheit. This tag says that, okay, we are doing some conversion, convert tag. Okay, so that every tag in XML is self-explanatory and defines the data inside this tag. It defines the data inside the tag. Okay, so XML tagging, as I said, it is self-describing, that it only defines the data, it describes the data. Okay, it's fine. In being able to choose own tag, authoring XML, it is possible to create naming conflict within the code. Fine. So, for example, okay, I can define repeated codes for different purposes. Fine. So for that purpose, an XML namespace is provided, which is a methodology that ensures that all element and attributes are unique and unambiguous. That no similar tags or same tags are used for two different purposes. Okay, that is defined by the namespace. Okay, so you can see here one of the XML document where we define name tag for defining some name, address tag, which has again street, town, and postcode tags. We define the street, the town, and the postcode. Just 2 minutes, inshallah. Give me 2 minutes, please. Okay, so we can see that we have defined the tags called name and name, keep the name inside this tag, address and the street, keep the street in this tag, and close. But you see that every opening tag will have a closing tag. Okay, we can nest the tags, we can have the nested tags, but every opening tag will have a close tag. Okay, And there should be one root tag. There should be one root tag to make the XML complete XML. Okay, so otherwise you can say this is an incomplete XML. Okay, fine. The names of the elements that are used to be used in tags in the XML document must conform to some simple rules. Names can contain letters, numbers, and some punctuation characters. Name must start with letter, must not start with XML letters XML or the XML. Okay, must start with any other letter. Names cannot contain spaces and names are case sensitive. It means capital and small has a difference. Fine. Okay, so we can also mention these special characters like less than, greater than, and all in XML by using these entities like in HTML. Okay, LT ampersand LT colon represent less than, because we are using this less than for a tag, right? So it may get an confusion like whether it is a tag or it is a less than symbol. So for that purpose, for less than, we use this ampersand LT, for greater than ampersand GT, and for ampersand and so on. So you can look back again that there are a lot of special characters, and for this there are a lot of different XML entities. Okay, fine. What else we have here? Yeah, we can also have the attributes in a name value pair for an XML element. Like in HTML, we have the attributes, right? For an anchor tag, we have an attribute, right? So for a form tag, we have an attribute. Similarly, we can also have an attribute. For example, album media equals download. So it is a name of the attribute and it is the value of the attribute. So it is in a form of name value pair for every attribute, name value pair. For example, here album media equals CD. So this is an attribute of this tag called album. Okay, fine. The hierarchical structure of an XML document. Every XML document can be read as an in a form of tree or an hierarchical structure, where the top will have the root tag. For example, if you take this document, XML document, we have the customer tag opening and closing here. So the root tag is customer. Inside the customer, there is a name tag opening here, closing here. So the next, under the customer, we have the name. Under the name, we have given name and family name, two tags. So we have the root tag. Under the root tag, we have the name. Under name, we have family name and given name. And under the root, again, we have address, right? So we have the address here. Under the address, we have street, town, and postcode. So you can see that in a form of tree, as you can see here. This is a customer. Under the customer, we have name and address. Under the name, we have given name and family name. And under the address, we have street, town, and postcode. Under these tags, we have the values or the data. Okay, so this is how we can represent the XML document in a tree format. Okay, so this is about the XML and the SOAP service. Now from here, we got to look into some development of the SOAP services. That is how we can create a SOAP service and then how we can access that SOAP service. Okay, building a SOAP service and accessing that SOAP service. Fine, like how we create that servlet and all. Similarly, we have to do these activities. So these activity actually it is in part 2 of block 1 in the activities folder. So if you go to the instructions, uh, you can see there in the instruction files for part 2 you see those all these activities, and at the same time you have to do those activities. Okay, now for this what I'll do is that I'll make a video of it, how to create a web service and how to test it, and then I'll share that video with you all, and then you can do those activities of part 2 also. Okay, so here we will stop for today as it is time up now, 4 o'clock, And thank you very much for attending and having patience to listen to me. 2 hours, I know that's a very long day for you. I mean, 2 hours of lecture continuously from 2 to 4, but that I have to take it to cover your syllabus. On top of it, I want to ask you one thing, that I want one extra class, might be on Sunday or Monday. Is that okay with you?
Doctor, in Monday, it's nice.
Monday is okay.
Monday I have a class on the Monday, Doctor.
You have a
what
class
time,
on Monday?
Doctor?
Yes.
Yes. Mahmoud Fauzi, is there anything, Mr. Mahmoud Fauzi?
Doctor, what time the additional class?
Monday, Sunday or Monday, is it okay from 2 to 4?
No. I have a class on the Monday, Doctor. I cannot attend
I
it.
have a class in the Sunday.
Okay, someone is having Sunday on Monday.
Doctor, you can make
Can
it
change
early in the
time.
morning or at
12 to 2, is it okay?
Doctor, I don't know. I prefer if you
Which
can do
day,
it
Doctor?
in the weekend.
Monday or
Maybe
Sunday, 12
everyone
to 2.
is free for weekend.
Weekend?